At 5:17 local time, steel moves beneath the flight deck as the carrier cuts through calm water at a steady pace. No swell, no storm, only a long gray horizon and the low mechanical hum of a ship that never truly rests. On the bridge, no one says a word. Inside the Combat Information Center, the first tone breaks the silence. Not loud, not urgent, just exact. New surface contact, then another, then 6 more. 8 in total. The radar picture tightens. Symbols begin to fill the screen in a wide arc, spread out, moving fast, far too fast to be random. Their vectors are clean, deliberate, closing. The watch officer leans in, eyes fixed on the bearing readouts. No one reaches for a microphone. No one wastes time with questions. Condition 3 is set without fanfare. Key stations are manned, doors seal, hatches locked down. Up on the flight deck, motion stops in an instant. A tow tractor freezes in place. A yellow shirt raises a hand and keeps it there, suspended, waiting for the next signal. Aircraft sit armed and silent, noses forward, canopies reflecting the pale morning light. In CIC, the range keeps falling. 30 nautical miles. 28, 26. All 8 contacts are now inside the outer surveillance ring. Their speeds are identical, holding at 27 knots. Their spacing is too disciplined to mistake. This is not civilian traffic. This is formation movement. Track numbers update automatically. One contact drifts slightly left, another slightly right. The arc tightens. Not a straight line approach, a net. The carrier holds course, speed unchanged, heading steady. No evasive move. A second console operator runs identification filters. Hull shapes begin to resolve as the ships close in. Angular silhouettes, tall superstructures, sensor masts that do not belong to patrol craft or support vessels. The room stays quiet while the system finishes its work. Then the identification appears across the display. Russian Navy, 8 warships. No radio traffic follows. No warning, no broadcast. The contacts keep coming in silence, their wakes sharp and white across the blue water. On the bridge, the captain watches the horizon through reinforced glass. He does not raise his voice. He does not have to. The ship is already doing exactly what it was built to do. Below, the 5-inch gun mount rotates a few degrees. Not enough to threaten, just enough to be noticed. Range drops to 21 nautical miles. One of the Russian ships adds 2 knots. Another shifts inward by half a degree. The formation begins to reveal itself. 2 forward elements, 6 trailing behind, angled to squeeze the space. This is not shadowing. This is convergence. The carrier's escorts hold position off the beam, spread wide and silent. No flares, no active fire control radar. Everything stays measured, everything stays controlled. In CIC, the projected closest point of approach is calculated. Too close. At this distance, mistakes turn into collisions, and collisions turn into something far more serious. Still, no radio calls. The Russian ships are now close enough for visual confirmation. Gray hulls, naval ensigns snapping in the wind, deck crews visible as small figures against steel. Their guns are uncovered but unmanned, intent without open aggression. The carrier does not slow. Flight operations are paused, not canceled. Every move can still be reversed. Every option remains open. Below deck, a helicopter crew straps in, rotors folded, waiting for a signal that has not yet come. 16 nautical miles. The arc tightens again. 2 Russian ships angle toward the carrier's bow. 4 hold the flanks. 2 remain just astern, maintaining pressure. 8 ships, 1 carrier. No shouting, no alarms, only data flowing, logged and time-stamped. Every bearing change recorded. This is the point where posture matters more than raw force. The carrier holds its line. The sea stays calm. The 8 warships keep closing, not to strike, not to hail, but to find out who moves first. 15 nautical miles, 14, 13. What was once a loose arc becomes geometry. Calculated, rehearsed, intentional. 2 lead ships push forward on diverging angles, not to cross the bow, but to reduce the carrier's room to maneuver. The other 6 settle in behind them, evenly spaced, perfectly matched in speed. This is not escort, this is containment. Inside CIC, track histories scroll automatically. Every course correction is captured. Every speed change is logged to the second. The system does not speculate. It simply records. The carrier holds 20 knots. No zig, no zag. A junior watchstander states the obvious in a flat professional voice. The contacts are splitting into 2 elements. No one answers. Everyone already sees it. From the bridge, the horizon looks unchanged. Blue water, clear sky, nothing to suggest escalation, but beneath that calm surface, the tactical picture is tightening by the minute. 12 nautical miles. A Russian ship off the starboard side edges slightly ahead of the formation, its bow wave thickening as speed increases. Not enough to provoke, just enough to apply pressure. Another ship mirrors the move to port, keeping the carrier centered. A corridor is taking shape, narrow and deliberate. The escorts adjust subtly, widening their arcs without closing in. They do not challenge. They do not retreat. They remain exactly where doctrine says they should be. Visible, capable, silent. No fire control radars go active. No warning flares. The 5-inch gun remains offset, a reminder rather than a threat. 10 nautical miles. At this range, bridge crews on both sides can make out faces. Binoculars come up. Sailors pause near railings, watching a ship that outweighs anything around it. Still no radio traffic. The Russian formation keeps its silence, and that silence is as deliberate as the maneuver itself. It avoids declaring intent while increasing pressure. It forces the other side to interpret. In CIC, the electronic warfare console lights briefly as a low-power search radar brushes the carrier. Not a lock, not a direct threat, more like a tap on the shoulder. We see you. The signal is logged. Frequency, duration, source. Nothing else changes. 9 nautical miles. The 2 lead Russian ships ease closer, reducing the open water ahead. They do not cross the carrier's path. They do not force an emergency turn. They simply shape the space in front of her. The helm remains steady. On the flight deck, the hold signal stays up. Aircraft remain chained. Pilots sit waiting in cockpits, oxygen flowing, eyes ahead. Everyone understands this could shift either way, and no one rushes it. 8 ships now define the space around the carrier with near-perfect symmetry. Disciplined, practiced. This is not emotional. It is procedural. The closest point of approach recalculates. Closer. Too close for comfort. Still legal. Still controllable. 8 nautical miles. The Russian ships adjust again. Tiny turns. Fractions of a degree. Enough to tighten the net without closing it completely. They are testing reactions, not trying to collide. The carrier still does not respond. No course change, no speed change, no radio challenge. That restraint is not hesitation. It is posture. At 7 nautical miles, one Russian ship shifts just enough for its main gun to come clearly into view. The weapon remains cold. The message is visual, not tactical. The scene is logged. The escorts remain poised, weapons covered, sensors awake. Everything is happening in full view. This is pressure applied with geometry, not emotion. 6 nautical miles. The space is now compressed. Any unexpected turn would ripple through the formation in seconds. Any mistake would be visible to satellites, aircraft, and analysts half a world away. The carrier continues straight through the center of the net. Not defiant, not submissive, unchanged. No words, no flags, no horns. Only steel, water, intent, and one unanswered question hanging over the silence. Who moves first? At 6 nautical miles, the picture stabilizes, not because the pressure fades, but because the response has already begun. No announcement is made, no alarm sounds. The carrier does not alter course or speed. From the outside, nothing seems different. But below the surface, something is shifting, quietly, layer by layer, deliberately. In CIC, additional tracks appear above the formation, not new contacts, assets already airborne, now repositioning. Their transponders stay dark. Their presence is implied, not advertised. The helicopter crew receives the signal it has been waiting for. Rotors unfold, engines spool, deck crews move with efficiency, no wasted motion. The aircraft lifts cleanly from the deck and settles low over the water, nose aimed toward the narrowing corridor ahead. No dramatic climb, no hard turn, just controlled forward movement. The Russian ships hold formation as the helicopter approaches. At first, there is no visible reaction, then small ones. Heads turning on deck, slight course checks. Tiny speed changes that do not break formation, but acknowledge a new factor. This is not spectacle. It is a statement. We are aware, and we are recording everything. Back in CIC, the electronic warfare team shifts from passive collection to focused observation. No jamming, no interference, only careful listening. Another low-power radar sweep touches the carrier. Again, not a lock. Again, logged. A pattern begins to emerge, caution mixed with curiosity. The escorts adjust by yards, not miles, barely noticeable to the eye, obvious on the tactical display. Lanes open, angles change, the geometry shifts without collapsing. This is counter-pressure without confrontation. 5 nautical miles. The helicopter holds steady just above the wave tops, moving along the inside edge of the Russian formation. It does not cross bows, it does not hover over decks. It simply remains where it can be seen. Close enough to matter. Far enough to stay professional. Sensors turn, cameras record, everything is time-stamped. On the Russian ships, crews gather along the rails. Binoculars follow the aircraft. One gun mount twitches, then stops. No elevation, no training, just movement. In CIC, the watch officers exchange a quiet acknowledgement. They are reacting. The carrier remains the fixed point in the equation. 4 nautical miles. One Russian ship on the port flank eases off by half a knot, barely noticeable. Another on the opposite side mirrors it seconds later. The symmetry breaks. Not enough to call it retreat, but enough to suggest recalculation. The helicopter slides forward, holding a position ahead of the carrier's bow, just inside the corridor the Russian ships had tried to define. It does not block, it observes. The escorts remain wide and silent, feeding the same picture into the same network. Every platform sees what the others see. No single ship carries the moment alone. This is system-level control. 3.12 nautical miles. The Russian formation hesitates. It does not stop, it does not turn away. But it no longer tightens. The inward drift pauses. Small rudder checks ripple through the line as each ship holds spacing without compressing further. In CIC, the projected closest point of approach updates again. Wider, only slightly, but enough to notice. The carrier continues ahead, unwavering. No warnings, no raised voices, only patient, layered presence. The helicopter banks slightly, presenting its profile clearly to every ship in the formation. It carries no visible ordnance. It does not need to. Its value is in what it sees and what it records. Every second it remains overhead adds weight to the moment. The Russian ships keep their guns cold. Their radars stay disciplined. The silence remains. This is the hinge point. Pressure has met resistance. Not steel against steel, but discipline against discipline. One side is no longer advancing the equation. The net that had been tightening now simply holds. And in that stillness, the balance begins to shift. The formation does not break apart. It loosens. The change is subtle enough that an untrained eye might miss it. No sharp turns, no sudden loss of speed, only small measured adjustments spreading through the Russian line. In CIC, the shift is immediate. Track spacing increases by tens of yards. Speed differences appear where there had been none. Vectors that once converged now hold. The closest point of approach updates again. Wider, still close but no longer shrinking. At 3 nautical miles, the geometry of containment begins to fade. One Russian ship on the starboard flank drifts off its line by a single degree. Another compensates too late and overshoots before correcting. The symmetry is gone. The helicopter remains steady and visible, sensors still rolling. It does not chase the change. It does not need to. The record is already complete. On the carrier's bridge, the horizon still looks the same. Calm sea, clear sky, no visual drama. But the math has changed. The carrier holds course. The escorts maintain station, neither closing in nor falling back. Their presence remains constant, reassuring, patient. They do not rush the moment. They let it unfold. 2.5 nautical miles. The Russian lead ship trims speed again, this time by more than a fraction. Its wake softens. A second ship mirrors the move seconds later. Now the adjustment is unmistakable. No one speaks over the radio. No signal is exchanged. The decision is being made without words. In CIC, the watch officer marks the timestamp, the exact moment when pressure stopped increasing, when intent shifted from compression to preservation. Another update flashes. Closest point of approach now expanding steadily. The helicopter banks once, slow and controlled, then resumes its parallel track. It does not press closer. It does not pull away. Its role is fulfilled simply by remaining present. At 2 nautical miles, the Russian formation no longer defines a corridor. Gaps appear where there were none before. The aft elements begin drifting outward, opening space behind the carrier instead of sealing it. This is not withdrawal, this is disengagement. The distinction matters. Withdrawal is reactive, disengagement is deliberate. The carrier continues through the center of the loosening formation without changing a thing. It does not chase the opening, it does not exploit it, it simply proceeds. The sea stays flat, the air stays still. Only the wakes tell the story. One Russian ship breaks alignment by a full degree, then 2, then another. The arc widens. The net that once enclosed the carrier stretches thin, its tension fading. In CIC, no one celebrates. No one exhales in relief. This is not triumph, it is resolution. The helicopter begins a gradual climb, rising just enough to signal the close of its role. It remains in sight but no longer dominates the scene. The Russian ships respond in kind. Small course changes create more separation without declaring retreat. No flags lowered, no messages sent, no statement made. On the carrier's flight deck, the signal goes out to prepare for resumed operations. Chains remain in place for the moment, but body language changes. Pilots loosen slightly in their seats. Deck crews move again, measured and controlled. 2 nautical miles. The Russian lead ship alters course away from the carrier's bow. Not sharply, just enough to remove itself from the forward arc. Another follows, then another. The sequence continues without urgency. In CIC, the tactical picture clears. 8 tracks still present, none converging, all slowly diverging. The carrier passes through the space that had been denied only minutes earlier, its path now open. The escorts hold their lines, preserving distance, preserving clarity. The moment stretches, then it passes. That is how it ends. Not with a turn away under pressure, not with a declaration, just with the quiet recognition that the calculus has changed. The Russian ships did not flee. They chose to disengage, and the carrier never altered course to make them do it. The carrier never looks back. As the distance increases, the Russian warships remain visible first on radar, then on the horizon, then only as symbols fading at the edge of the tactical display. Their courses diverge gradually, disciplined even as they separate. No sudden turns, no pursuit, just space returning to the sea. On the flight deck, operations resume. Chains come off. Hands signal. Engines spool. One aircraft inches forward, then another. The rhythm of routine reasserts itself without ceremony. What paused minutes earlier now continues as though nothing unusual happened. Below decks, logs are finalized. Every bearing change, every speed adjustment, every radar sweep. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is editorialized. The record is enough. In CIC, posture eases from heightened readiness back to watch. Screens remain alive, sensors remain alert, but the compression is gone. The picture is clean. The helicopter returns to the deck, rotors slowing as it settles into place. No applause, no commentary. The crew unstraps and moves on to the next task. The footage it collected is already archived, time-coded, and stored across multiple systems. It may never be shown publicly. It does not need to be. The escorts slide quietly back into their standard screen. Their spacing returns to doctrine. Their role never changed. They never moved to confront. They never had to. That is what control looks like. Out on the water, the Russian ships hold their distance. Their formation loosens further, no longer oriented around the carrier. They are still there, but they are no longer shaping the space. The encounter is over, not because someone won, but because nothing more needed to happen. The carrier continues on its planned track, speed steady, heading unchanged. To anyone watching from a distance, it is just another gray hull crossing an empty ocean. But inside the ship, the meaning is understood without anyone saying it aloud. 8 warships closed in. No shots were fired. No course was changed. The outcome was not decided by raw force. It was decided by posture, timing, and restraint. By a system that did not rush, did not flinch, and did not surrender control of the moment. This is not the kind of encounter that dominates headlines. There are no explosions, no damage reports, no official speeches. And yet it will be studied, not for what happened, but for what did not happen. The data will be reviewed, the formations examined, the decision points broken down by officers and analysts who measure outcomes in margins and minutes. Every silent choice will be weighed against every alternative left untaken. Because this is how modern naval power often works. Not only through action, but through the discipline to hold action in reserve. The sea returns to normal. The horizon stretches wide and empty once more. The carrier moves forward unchanged, its wake fading into the blue behind it. Somewhere beyond that horizon, 8 warships continue their patrols, having tested a boundary and found it intact. No flags lowered, no words exchanged. Only a quiet understanding carried away across open water. 8 warships closed in. Then this happened.